so happy we alive.
Against the banks, you get money to securities. If you vote against securities, you get money to securities. I mean, raising money is not as hard as people think, and it's not as controlling. But it certainly, it may fill a vacuum, but it will not be public opinion. I guarantee this. I've been a legislator now for 28 years, and that's what we talk about. And I have never, and you know, we don't lie to each other that much. When I've approached members as part of a lobbying team within the legislative branch and say, I need your vote on this, people will say to me, whether I'm doing it on behalf of the Democratic leadership or on behalf of some other issue I'm involved in, often people say, gee, pal, I think you're right, but I'll get killed back home if I vote for that. I can't take that position. I've never had anybody say to me, oh, geez, I got a big contributor, I can't do that. That's not considered legitimate among us, and maybe that might be influencing some people, but they don't even admit it to us, each other, and I think it rarely does. Public opinion is overwhelming, and the other point I want to make, though, is this. I think people on the left, in general, are wrong when they argue that the people are more enlightened than the politicians. I will tell you, after 20 years in this business, I often find my colleagues in politics to have made mistakes, and I certainly think people in the media make mistakes. But I'll be honest with you, the voters are no bargain either. There's a lot of this bringing out the words to each other. But one issue in which it is clear that the average voter is more enlightened and less hung up on cultural lags and shibboleths is drug policy. The voters are more sensible. They know what works and what doesn't work. They got family members. They know what it will take to help people who are substance abusers, etc. So this is one where I do believe that we can mobilize public opinion and win some victories. Obviously, we won in a lot of these referenda. Now, the key is simply lobbying members. It's not demonstrations. You know, people say to me, well, we're going to be real militant show, or we're going to have a demonstration. Person for person, there is no more successfully militant political organization in America than the National Rifle Association. You ever heard about them having a shooting? Or how about the AARP, who used to be the American Association of Gun Owners? Very, very influential. Have you seen a kind of mass shuffle down in Pennsylvania? The most politically effective groups in America do not have demonstrations. If a demonstration is helpful to you in motivating your own members to then do the political action, that's a good thing. But nobody in Congress cares how many people are out on the wall. I only care how many people, if I'm calculating politically, I care about how many call my office. There are a million people out there. How the hell do I know where they're from or when they're registered? Or do they know who their member of Congress is? So it's very simple. We need to get all of our people, this is what the NRA does. You get all of your people to know who everyone is who represents them in elected office. The city council, the state legislature, the county level, and the federal level. State legislature and federal level, most important when you're dealing with these things. Secondly, make sure they're registered to vote. Third, make sure they know a person's position. I will tell you, I will get letters from people urging me to please consider voting for the bill I just introduced. And I got to say, well, it's nice to know that we agree, but my impression that they are aware of how I'm doing is very great, and you're not afraid of people if they know what you're doing. So you need just to do that, and then let people know you think about it. We have a great unmobilized potential in terms of public opinion. The referenda are good, but if everybody who voted in the referenda had written also to his or her member of the House and Senate, it would have an impact. Now, it's not going to win it right away, but I think on things like medical marijuana, and another bill that I just filed, which you'll be hearing some more about, a few years ago, not as a separate standalone bill, sneaked into some overall appropriation, they amended the Higher Education Act. So any student who has a drug offense can't get any federal aid. Now, that's not true, by the way, of murder or arson or assault. And it may be that there are cases where someone's pattern of drug abuse is such that, no, he or she should be getting federal aid. But to make it automatic in the cases of marijuana and not in any other case of any other crime. And, you know, the other problem, of course, is economically discriminatory. I mean, under this law, if either George Bush or Al Gore had gotten caught, they could have been kicked out of Harvard and Yale, except for the fact that their families had enough money to send them there. So this is a law that knowing of it, it's a terrible idea. I just filed a bill to repeal it, and I will keep college students should mobilize. So that's it. I'm going to throw this open for questions, but it's really very simple.
What's the number of the repeal bill?
The number of the bill, I don't know. If you call my office tomorrow or Monday, they will give you that. And we actually had a vote on it. It's unfortunately become a little bit of a party line vote. This is one where I wish Democrats were better than they are. But at least on this one, we did get a majority to vote with us in a committee to try and repeal it. That, it's very simple. I'll just start repeating myself. So you say, well, having people know who the legislators are, be registered to vote, have a record of voting in primaries. By the way, one of the things that people don't do enough of is to vote in primary. In many parts of this country, the primary is the more important place to vote. I think people will be pleasantly surprised at the response they will begin to get. And it's also the only effective way we have. I guarantee politicians aren't concerned about other things. They worry about whether or not they're going to get reelected to the extent that they're not talking about the merits. And that's the way to do it. I would particularly begin to focus on those politicians in the states where medical marijuana referenda have passed. And you ought to try and rally the people who voted for those referenda. Tell them to write to their member of Congress and say, hey, this member of Congress you're voting for, he or she isn't carrying out your wishes expressed in a referendum. But I think people will be pleasantly surprised. And I understand the skepticism and the cynicism of many, either on the left or on the right, people who've been sort of alienated from the political process. And they think, oh, you're telling me the system works. Well, it does in this sense. Believing that a politician is going to pay attention to the voters in his or her district does not impute to him or her any great virtue. On the other hand, the notion that politicians are going to pay a lot of attention to people who don't vote doesn't make any sense. It's just, even if you have a fairly unpleasant view of the political process, I have a much better one myself, but we're saying, take it at its most cynical. Tell these people that they don't do the right thing, you're not going to vote for them, and you'll have an impact. I mean, reduce it to that. But there is too little of that among various activist groups. So I am glad to see people who are committed to doing this and meeting here in Washington. And I guarantee you that we won't win right away, but with the degree of public support that is obviously out there and manifested in the referenda, we have a potential to make American drug policy, at first, significantly less stupid. And then, I'm going to set that as an interim goal, and then we can move on to better. Thank you.
Yeah, my involvement in politics has been mostly with conservative Republicans. I'm Tim Beck from Detroit, and my involvement in politically has been mostly with conservative Republicans.
Can I just have one question?
I got a question.
Which conservative Republicans in Detroit have you been working with?
Metro Detroit, Grosse Pointe especially. I don't live there. I don't care to live there, but I'm in that district. All right. But anyway, the mantra of right to life, okay, is abortion is murder, and the government has a responsibility to stop murder. Okay. Now, with respect to drug policy, the use of drugs is immoral, and it's a form of debauchery. And the government has a responsibility to stop immorality and debauchery. And I even had one high-level Republican Party official tell me that, yes, you're right, Mr. Beck, the drug war isn't working, but we have a moral responsibility to continue it, even though it's not working because it's the right thing to do. Do you just ignore, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think you do just ignore them. Look, you're never going to get 100% of people. And one of the things